Hello, this is Amy Bouchard, and I am sharing this information for a couple reasons. And one being that my business is about stacking the deck in your favor. In fact, I used the eSmarter Vox cognitive boost technology to finish my manuscript for a book called Salesology, Stacking the Deck in Your Favor. So help me with my brain. But you'll see Chicago in the background, and the reason why is in 2016, my husband was diagnosed with a degenerative brain disease, and it was called primary progressive aphasia. That was at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where we had volunteered for 25 years, so that was a shock. And since then, in 2019, we found out that that brain disease actually was Alzheimer's. So in your 50s to have this happen was, needless to say, gut-wrenching. 2 years after that diagnosis, he also found out he had cancer. So what I lucked out in the midst of all this was I had a friend, a doctor friend, that had thought that something which I didn't have a clue was, which I now know is wearable neurotechnology, may help him. She did not know how much it would actually help me as well. So I wanted to share just a couple points, if I can, without crying. My business in the past had been about before and after. And this neurotechnology, wearable neurotech, has definitely given us a before and an after. For me, all I can tell you is that when I put this tech on, I had had an Achilles injury, and I had had 3 rounds of physical therapy, but every morning I was waking up with a level 7 pain in my foot. So when you would get out of bed in the morning and put your foot down, it was that instant, shoot, here's that injury again. So within 3 days, and granted this might be different for you if you try the technology, but my experience was within 3 days, my ankle injury basically felt like it was a level 1 pain. So that was huge. But probably the biggest thing as I wore the technology and it unfolded was I had to take Frank to the neurologist on one day. This was a Friday. And then that following Monday, I had to take him to the oncologist. So I was dealing with trying to understand cancer treatment as well as neurology. And the big difference is I had the neuro socks on, which again, I didn't know much about it. I just knew that when I went to the doctor and was giving all this medical information, this jargon, which is so overwhelming for most people, it was easier to understand. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together till the next doctor appointment a couple days later. I ran out the door because it was kind of early in us understanding that you need to have this technology on all the time, that it wasn't a hit or miss. And I ran out the door and I didn't have it on. I didn't understand why I started feeling kind of this creeping, uncomfortable anxiety, just subtle, just kind of, and I couldn't focus. And I'm trying to pay attention to what my husband's needs are and how devastating this is for him to hear all these news at the doctor appointment. But also I was just realizing I wasn't being able to take all the information in, and my brain was just not, I didn't know what it was. And when we got home, I literally had to crawl into bed because I just couldn't take it anymore. It was like the stress level had just been huge. And something told me when I laid down, probably about a half hour, put those socks on. I don't know why. And I put the socks on and I laid in bed a little bit longer, and it really was only a short amount of time where I started to feel better. I just felt calmer. And I'm sharing this with you because if any of you are going through any challenges, and a lot of us are right now with this COVID virus, and, you know, me in my 50s to all of a sudden have to be a sole care partner to my husband in his 50s, I can't even imagine not having this technology on me to not only be able to have the sleeve to keep me calmer and more focused, but to have the neurotech on, whether it's in the insoles in my feet, the socks, the patch, I'll wear whatever suits my needs that day. But what I also noticed, and this has been a process now for about 4 years, but initially what I noticed from Frank is he was able to still do some tasks that he liked to do. It helped with his golf game. He was playing softball at the time. So he was still getting a better quality of life. But I'd probably say the biggest thing that just all of a sudden kind of settled in one day with me is I was trying to have a conversation with him on the telephone. And I couldn't understand anything he was trying to say because a lot of how this brain disease has manifested for him was in his loss of language and his ability to comprehend. And I was trying to ask him, do you have your socks on? Do you have your insoles on? Well, he couldn't understand. And I finally asked him a question. I said, honey, do you have your socks on? He said, well, I'm sitting on the couch. And I thought, oh, he's bare feet. And I said, would you do me a favor? Would you go put your socks on, the ones with the orange strip, and call me back? He did. Wow. It was life-changing. I'm not saying it's 100%, but I could understand him. And if it's 25% or 30% or whatever it may be, that made a difference in when he has the technology on or where he doesn't. We're about 4 or 5 years into this challenge, and I am eternally grateful, Jay Dollywall, for this technology. I've been able to share it with people that's helped them with their balance, their stability, their range of motion. But for us, the cognitive function, for me as a caregiver, and for Frank, who's losing the ability to speak, has been priceless.